I want to talk about, I don't know, it's let's say a semi-halachic topic, talking about integrity in marketing.
Oh, no, there's none.
Oh, well, thank you all for coming. That was that. No, because I'll tell you what's tricky. What's tricky is because like competition or marketing is good. You have to be able to market a product because otherwise there'll be a monopoly and then things will fall apart. But it has to be done with integrity. You know, there's a terrible sort of I don't know, like reputation perhaps of certain business people that in order to be successful, you have to manipulate. You have to be misleading. You have to, I know, sort of to knock down others in order to climb up. And the question I suppose that I'd like to consider is, in halakha, what are the guidelines? What are the guidelines for me to be a successful person in marketing, but also to maintain my integrity? It has to be that there is a halachic way to be successful. You follow? It can't be that I can either choose to follow halakha or I can choose to be successful. It has to be that halakha has got a way of helping us navigate that very sort of tricky sort of path that on the one hand allows me to push myself, to Shalom Aleichem, how you doing? What a pleasure to see you. On the one hand, I want to be able to, to be successful in that which I do. On the other hand, I don't want to mislead. Okay, so I want to start actually by looking, do you see there are 5 adverts? Four adverts at the top. Mm-hmm. Do any of you think any of them would be non-halachic? Any of them problematic? Any of them?
What are the pictures?
Yeah.
As your dentist, I would recommend Viceroy's. It's probably in that category.
Can you elaborate? What's
Because I don't think dentists would recommend these.
Have you ever smoked with Viceroy's?
Yeah, it's a bit misleading. This your dentist would recommend. Do you think if you were looking at it with halachic eyes, on the one hand you can't say it's all asur, because then you'll have
smoking for the teeth, so
it's not so great for the teeth. I don't think.
No, any dentist will recommend smoking.
So you might be able to tell if you look at this picture, it's not recent.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't taken last week. So it could be there was a time that people, I think, didn't appreciate how dangerous smoking is. Mm-hmm. But is it fair to say, is that, as your dentist, I would recommend? Any others that you think may be not great?
The sheets are also like,
See, let's say on that one.
The sheets are not that bad. What is this? Cacao Crispy's immunity?
So you see what's the problem?
See the ingredients before that.
Yeah, but I tell you, you look when you look at the Cocoa Krispies, you get the sense when you look at this container that the best way to preserve your health of your children is to give them Cocoa Krispies. Do you know what I mean? That's probably not true.
I mean, it probably loaded with like.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it that bad?
No, if you compare it to the amount of sugar inside.
It may not be that bad, but it's not like, let's have this health food called Cocoa Krispies.
Yeah, kids used to grow.
But like all those children crispy cereals, there's always a lot of huge amount of sugar inside.
Right. Yes.
So I can't imagine that this one differs from that.
Yeah.
Right. So therefore,
maybe less. 25% less sugar. It's better than the other cereals. If you're an American parent, you're supposed to feed us good cereals. Might actually be a good option.
Can I? Even though I just walked in, can I say something?
You can always say something. Michael, we'll all stop.
No, it's okay.
Michael's on the job.
No, it's okay. I hate advertisements.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Really.
So that's exactly our topic today. Can I be in marketing and maintain my neshama? That's really the question. Or they mutually exclusive? That's really today's question.
It is possible, but
not for me.
In general, they're designed to manipulate.
Ooh, you're harsh.
No, I have a fervent hatred of advertising.
I can actually watch your blood pressure going up as you look at the top of this piece of paper. I apologise for that, but hopefully as you continue, you'll calm down a bit. Is any of them you think would be halachically problematic? Meaning if anyone came to you as their rabbi and said, I work for Cocoa Krispies or for this mattress company or Gerber, and they came to you and they said, Machon Meir certified rabbi, do you think this would be appropriate? Any of them that you would say to your the person asking you the question, that's really
This one is
that's
okay,
not
I
going to
guess,
work.
the Gerber, because there's no pictures. It's not like there's nothing. It's just like, oh, this is like a preferred brand.
It may not be true though.
It may not be true. That's true.
How can we know?
But I mean, if it's not true, then false advertising.
Yeah, but there must be something at the bottom there. It says the 4 out of
Fine
5.
print.
Yeah, but you can't actually read it here. But it's probably 4 out of 5 paediatricians that we met, who all live on our street and whose wives work for or husbands work for Gerber.
That's true.
Any of them problematic? Oh yeah, Hananiah. Oh, good. I was sort of going between Hananel and Hananiah. And I was sort of like not deciding until the end there. Sorry about that.
If I saw this advertisement,
Yes.
I go to exactly to the Serta because some might be do Sekita Kocherka because other I don't get interested in them.
Right, it's a bit like Michael over here. He sees an advertisement that says that's just. You almost like I'm definitely not going to get that one.
And if I do, it's not because of the advertising.
I'm
It's 'cause
ignoring
I just
you.
happen to need the product.
That's excellent. Shushan, do you have any thoughts? Are you happy with any of them? Sorry. No. Continue, please.
About what when we saw about something about kosher or something like that, we just
About kosher.
kosher food, something like that. There is in every store, right? Therefore, but I will go directly, even if the mattress.
You mean you'll just go for wherever you see the word kosher, you'll go there.
Yeah.
That's your marketing tool. So we're not so much talking about you as a consumer, we're talking about more you as the marketing. Like we're on the marketing side. Yeah, Shushan, do you have any comments? Any of them that you think are not going to work?
Yeah, for sure. Like the Viceroy.
Oh, what a treat. Shalom Aleichem, what a pleasure. How are you? Yes, here, do you want to sit here? I think David is sitting there. Or you can sit wherever you like, yes.
Someone's sitting there.
You can sit next to Menachem Pesach. What a pleasure to see you. Shalom Aleichem.
Yeah, he said you something.
You might be leaving Yerushalayim soon.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll miss you.
I'm sorry.
Because it's going to be a schlep to come here all the way from Yad Binyamin. Worth it, but
I've got
excellent.
another shift. We'll see. Maybe once a week. We'll see.
We would love that.
I don't know that. Yeah, it's possible. Not impossible. We'll see.
Excellent. We're talking today about integrity in marketing.
Oh,
It's been dismissed already, so it's been quite a short discussion. Meaning, the indication is that it seems that they don't actually go together. But there has to be a possibility to be an honest market, like to be in marketing and to be honest. Those two ideas can't be mutually exclusive.
Because of this top sentence, healthy competition.
Oh,
Companies
exactly.
need to be able to advertise their product.
Exactly. It has to be a way.
It has to be competition. It has to be
Exactly.
done in a healthy way.
So we're gonna look at 4. Our plan today is we're going to look at Be'ezrat Hashem, look at 4 really topics in the area of marketing, 4 topics, and
I've been looking at loads
each one of them will.
Because I've got tons of things to buy for the new place I'm going. So, looking for sofa beds, right? And you found one place. So you got, this is very cheap. It wasn't the actual sofa bed, it was just the covers. Of course the covers are cheaper than that, but until you actually look inside it, you think, wow, that's cheap. So you've got to be specific what you're doing. What is it you're selling? the covers, the actual thing itself.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, you would
Yeah.
get a surprise if you were ordering a sofa bed
And
and like a couple of sheets showed
Yeah,
up. Yes,
yeah,
I could imagine that. How shall I assemble this? Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, I could. I agree with you.
Or you think it's solid and you've got to put it together and it takes loads of time. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, so you have to be clear. That's definitely true. We're going to look at 4 points. The first point, and we'll look at it's really each time we'll look at a piece of Gemara and then how that piece of Gemara was translated halakha l'maaseh, practical halakha. And I hope we'll end our discussion today with 4 guidelines that if any of us decide to go into a career in marketing, we will come out from today's discussion with 4 points to consider. There may be more, but for us, we're going to talk about 4. Okay, the first one is a beautiful machloket that appears in Masechet Bava Metzia. It's an argument between Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim. Do you see in source number 1? How should I encourage people to come to my shop? Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda said, Lo yichalek hachenvani klayot ve'egozin letinokot. Clever guy, this guy. You can't stand outside your shop giving out free treats and nuts to the children, but mipnei shuhu margilan lavo etzlo. Because you understand that if the children come into the shop, parents tend not to want to lose their children. I don't know if you could corroborate that. In general, if Ima sends Abba out to go shopping with the kids, she would be grateful if he returns home with the same number of children as the number that he left the house. I've noticed that. They're fussy on that. I mean, so therefore, if my children are going to run into a shop because the guy outside is giving them candies, so I'm going to shop. That's the shop I'm going to go to. So Rabbi Yehuda said that is a disingenuous way to bring children, to bring customers into your shop, and therefore you're not allowed to do that.
Disingenuous.
Huh?
Kids are happy, therefore I, as a parent, I am happy, and the wife is happy that the products are home.
No, but let's say shop A is giving out candies, and shop B isn't giving out candies.
He has to get his game up.
Oh, Chachamim Omrim. So the rabbis say it's fine. The rabbis say you are allowed to do that. That's the Mishnah. The Mishnah says you are allowed to. Why are you allowed to? The Gemara quote, I would say Ben and the Gemara came to the same rationale. The Gemara tells us, do you see on the second page, why are the rabbis lenient on this point? Da'amar le ana maflikna am gozi va'at palik shiski. I'm going to give out nuts. You could give out something else. Shesek. You give out another fruit. So the fact that I'm giving out fruit isn't disingenuous, because really is what my marketing is only unfair if I have an unfair advantage. But here there's nothing unfair about me promoting my store, because you could also promote your store. Every shop could decide what their loss leader is. You follow? I mean, that's part of the chokhmah of being a good business person. So a loss leader, you're drawing people into your store, is really the goal, right? So since I'm using a tool that you could also use to draw people into your store, then that would be fine. Does that make sense to everybody? Joy?
This is why they put candies on the lower shelves. So
Yeah.
children will see.
Isn't that terrible?
It is.
Also, when they're at the cash register, so the kids can.
I know, I feel so bad for parents. As if I haven't got enough to worry about. And I know, it's terrible.
It's good for everyone. I remember every single, my mom would never buy me candy, but I would always try, and I never stopped trying.
Yeah, I haven't. It just makes it into a more tricky situation. Okay, so the first point is that any marketing strategy that anybody could do is fine. It's only if I have an unfair advantage over somebody else that then it would be a problem. You follow? Is that clear? Now this translates into the Rambam. The Rambam is really writes this down. I'm gonna read the Rambam. ומותר לכן בוני לחלק כליות ואגוזים לתינוקות. He's allowed to, the shopkeeper is allowed to give out candies to the children, l'shvachot, and to people who work, people who work in somebody's home, slaves, servants. We don't have that so many nowadays. More tinokot, kedei lahargilan lavo etzlo, in order to encourage them to come to him. Ufotech mishar shebashuk kedei laharbot b'mekifin mimenu. Now he's allowed to start selling them at a lower price. ואין בני השוק יכולים לעכב עליו, ואין בה גזלת הדעת. This would not be considered misleading another person because I'm not doing anything that somebody else couldn't do. And since I'm just, I'm using a strategy that you could also use. So I can go, when we go to the shuk, I know, I sometimes go to the shuk, there are guys outside shops giving out, like people to taste in order to draw people into the shop. There's nothing bad if there's my shop and your shop and I'm giving out. So you do the same and then people will come into your shop. Is that clear to everybody? So point number one, we see that marketing on a level playing field is fine.
I've got a problem with this one.
Oh yes, good.
Because in that shuk, there's about 5 stalls, 4 of which belong to one company.
Oh, that's another point.
Which is monopoly. It's absolutely a monopoly.
One thing, you don't go to the shop.
No, I'm just
to the store.
No, but
one
if
street next to it.
That is a monopoly. Honestly.
Okay.
Is this like like the Walmart argument, like how Walmart has an unfair advantage?
No, Shuk Machane Yehuda. There's one company is trying to monopolize it.
Oh, is that a fact? Is that Machane?
It's absolutely true.
Oh wow, I didn't know this.
Yeah, there's often multiple stalls of the. Oh yeah,
I'm talking about this. What's it? The not Tachina. The
Chalva.
Chalva. Yeah.
All the chalvas.
Okay, there's four. One company's got 4 stalls, and there's only about one other company's got 1 stall, and that's about it.
Oh, so the truth is that there is a caveat to add to what I said in the Rambam, but the Rambam, I didn't put it on the sheet, but I'm going to mention it now, and maybe this would be sort of connected to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Imagine this. Imagine a cul-de-sac, right? A cul-de-sac, and at the end of the cul-de-sac there is the grocery shop, right? Mm-hmm. So everyone has to walk down this road in order to get to the shop at the end of the road, and we're going to make the road, I don't know, 300 meters, 400 meters long, like 6-minute walk. Now, if I were to open a grocery shop on the corner of the main road, so that everybody had to walk past my grocery shop in order to get to that grocery shop, and I would start giving out stuff in my grocery shop, that would be a problem. If there were already 2 grocery shops, then that's how the situation existed. Meaning that was the grocery shop at the end of the cul-de-sac started in the knowledge that there was a shop at the end of the road. But if I were to open a shop that would give me an unfair advantage over somebody else, because you have to pass their shop in order to get to my shop. Now it's such a complicated idea, but there is a concept of masik guvul. You're not allowed to take away from, if you're impinging on somebody else's area. Mm-hmm. Now, this is, the Rambam mentions it, but it's very, very, very complicated. I'll give you an example of why it's very complicated. In our neighborhood, there is a very old coffee shop. The coffee shop has been there for about 40 years. And it's often quite full. It's never like chock-a-block full, but it's often quite full. And then, about 5 years ago, another coffee shop wanted to open right next door. And indeed, they did. they opened right next door, and there was big protests from the supporters of the original coffee shop, saying, you can't. There's like, we're the coffee shop, and now there's another coffee shop. But as a result of the second coffee shop opening, the area turned into a coffee shop area. You understand? So now people, a bit like Emek or other places, where, like when you're going out, so there's this one, if this one's a bit full, I'll go to that one. And both coffee shops are actually doing very well. And sometimes the second shop can add, because then it becomes the area where people go, to do stuff. It's not just the one shop.
The shop, they're coming for the general area.
Exactly.
Go to either one.
Exactly. So the concept of masig gvul, so sort of when I'm infringing on your boundaries, is very, very complicated to measure, because sometimes the second shop, sometimes the competition or the variety can make this area a more attractive area. We have the same at the top of our road. There was a shop that sold, like nuts and bolts, like hammers and
Hardware store.
Yeah, hardware store, sort of place I go to very rarely. And then a new hardware store opened up next door. Same thing. There's always like a tiny nail that you're looking for, but because there's two of them, I'll try there, because if one hasn't got it, the other one might have it. So it's not necessarily the case that one will, negatively impact the other one. So that makes the concept of masig gavul very, very difficult to measure. You follow? Even here, there's like the hummus. This could be hummus heaven, chalva heaven. Sorry, so there are 5 chalva stores. But the fact is that the one chalva store might be happening because this is now, everyone's giving out chalva all the time. All you think about in the shuk is chalva. Like, you can't get we're just like chalva heaven.
I actually go to one of them and say, their chalva's better. It's just for a lark, it's the same chalva. Just to joke. Yeah, you know what Diana and Troy used to say? The more pubs, the more drinkers. He was we lived in a town where basically it was like 2 or 3 shuls, and suddenly this shul and that shul, another shul. So the Diane said, the more pubs, the more drinkers. In other words, more shuls, the more people are going to daven. It's not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So it's quite difficult to measure this. No, so it's not. Normally, when I'm using a strategy that anyone could use, is normally fine. You follow? Yeah. And even the concept of masik gvul, like breaking over somebody else's boundaries, is so difficult to measure, because sometimes, like, this road becomes chalva heaven. So my one little shop, even though there's 4 of the other guys, has got a lot more business. If I was the only chalva shop, it was like people may go there less. It becomes very difficult to measure it. But in general, if I'm doing something that anyone could do, it's fine. Joy? Point number 1. Is that clear? Questions? Comments? Good. Point number 2. This is quite important. How to market a product. Is this true? I remember reading once. Sometimes on cornflakes. I don't know if you remember what cornflakes is. When I was little, there was like 4 cereals. There was like cornflakes, Rice Krispies, and 2 others. Cheerios. Now, I don't know what they are. But nowadays, there's just like 4 aisles of all different shapes and sizes. But, point is, they used to sell cornflakes, and they have a picture of a bowl of cornflakes on the front. Apparently, they didn't use milk. Do you hear about this? They used glue. So is that a problem? Because the picture that I'm seeing isn't something real, or the burger that I'm seeing isn't a real burger, whatever. Often the picture on the packet, and you open it, is often a bitter disappointment.
I watched a whole documentary once on how advertisements, commercials are made. It was so upsetting. Just like the manipulation that goes on, how nothing is real. It's just illusions, and the food that they take pictures of is not really food, like you said. It's like made of foam and other things.
Yeah, exactly.
But cornflakes get worse. when I was a kid, there were toys in the cornflakes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Nowadays, they
Oh,
stopped that.
I know you're quite. We should actually start a revolution.
It's,
I think.
it's no, there's
Because
no
they only
reason
need
to
one
buy
toy these days, a
cornflakes.
phone with all the games that they ever could ever want.
Nobody cares about.
No one cares
online
about
games.
little.
Everyone
Cracker
cares about
Jacks or whatever
the,
you can-
if they have little
Well,
cars.
you like
It's a
those
lot more
toys,
fun.
No, truly, you're right. I remember when we were kids, the cornflakes container was full of information because you would eat breakfast and read.
And play the puzzle and stuff like that.
I know exactly. I know you read out Tatorot. Nowadays, people are faffing around doing other things. Anyway, but this picture is false advertising. So I want to look at the second thing, how to market a product. And that is, if I want to present something, how are you allowed to present it? So it's amazing. I'll tell you what's amazing, how little has changed. We're reading now, if you have a look over here, this is the Gemara Bava Metzia. This is actually a continuation from the previous. It's really very much on Masechet Bava Metzia, Daf Samach. We were Amud Aleph, and now we've moved to the next page, Amud Bet. We're in the same daf. Look at this over here. Gemara says over here, Ein mefar chasin et lo et ha'adam v'lo et ha'behema. You're not allowed to like what you were saying, like paint, like change what they look like. V'lo et ha'kelim. And this from the Mishnah. Tana Rabbanan. Ein mesarbatin et ha'behema ve'ein nofchin bekravayin ve'ein shorin et habasar b'mayim. You're not allowed to soak the meat in water in order to make it more attractive. Ma'ein mesarbatin hocho targumu maya de chizra zeiri amar rabkana maz kafata shmul shara b'marma tume lesarbala. So he talks about all these different things that were done. Are you allowed to a different way that the people would brush the animal's hair? They're talking now. It's a terrible thing.
That's
You know
called
when
grooming.
Yeah, when you would sell. In the times of the Gemara, at the market, they were selling animals. They were also presenting people to work in your homes. And sometimes I'd want to present the animal or this potential worker and present them present them as healthier than they might be. So when let's say you comb the animal's hair, comb it up or comb it down, it looks like this or looks like that. It's just like second-hand car dealers.
But he said it's okay.
So exactly. So the Gemara says it's a.
Talking about
So the Gemara says the first part.
putting makeup on. I mean, what, paint?
No, like right? What?
On people.
No, not be painted. You can't paint like the fur of an animal to make it look more nice, but you
But it
can
says
brush
men
it.
also men.
This
What does
is
that
men.
mean? What does
Yeah,
that
also
mean?
men.
No, it's talking about people like a worker. Like a slaves.
Yeah.
I get like in the say. I mean, it's a different world to the world in which we live. But if I have a product and I want to present the product in the best possible light, in fact, I have a friend who's a photographer, and he is a product photographer.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's all he, doesn't do weddings or bar mitzvahs or portraits. He just takes pictures of, I don't know, computers and cups and.
For advertisement.
Yeah, exactly. Like
but-
the angle. I don't know. I mean, the lighting. Probably a thousand different ways.
You can't, for example, paint over rust on your utensils. Or paint over like a spot on your animal that you don't like. If you have like a black furred animal and has like a little spot of white, you can't brush some
exactly.
black dye on it. Yeah.
So the Gemara actually, you have a brighter. The brighter that seems to indicate that you're not allowed to do touching things up. Sort of make them look different to the way they are. And then the Gemara responds to the bright and says, but here in Babylon we do those things. So it's a little bit confusing because you have the brighter that says no, and then you have Babylon that says yes, and the Gemara resolves it at the end and says that there's two different types of kalim. Well, two different types. You see at the bottom, ha b'chadati, ha ba'atiki. There's a difference between new items and old items. And in general, I am allowed to present new items. You're allowed to paint them. You're allowed to, present them in a good light. But you're not allowed to do that to older items. Why?
It has a specific blemish.
Yeah. So let's say with a car nowadays, when you're buying a new car, you know it's a new car. You know exactly its spec. I mean, I don't know very much about buying cars, but whatever it's in the catalogue, that's what the car is. Like there's no rust, there's no rotting, the seats aren't chipped or anything. The seats aren't ripped or whatever it is. Like there's no bangs in the sides of the car because it's a new car. It's never been on the road. So that you can paint it how you like. You can varnish, you can spritz it, you can do whatever you like because you know it's new. But when you're buying something that's older, then you're not allowed to fiddle with it because fiddling with something old, you might be trying to cover something. You follow?
To a certain extent, you can like brush the hair or something.
Say that again.
You can brush the hair of the animal so it looks nice.
Ah, yes.
Yeah,
right. But in general, the older it is, the less you're allowed to change it because the more likely you are to, to hide things which you might want to hide. So as you see, in our first sort of idea, we were quite open because all marketing is open to everybody, our first point, and therefore you can do whatever you like. Here, we're entering a little bit into a world of potential sheker. Nachon? It's like the second-hand car dealer never has a great reputation because he's going to want to hide faults in the car. So he wants to present this car as amazing, even if it isn't. You follow?
A bit of a related question.
Oh, yes.
Be controversial, but
We do controversial.
Makeup
right?
considered that kind of sheker?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Slave, yes.
No, I mean,
Well,
Don't
when
put on
you
makeup.
a woman,
You can
you get
do
married
what
to
you
her, you
want.
find out she's ugly. Is that the...
no, it's not. Wasn't what I was implying, but
Oh, wow, look at this. Shalom Aleichem. What a treat to see you. Okay, yes, go on.
so yeah. I mean, I'm not siding one way or another, but is wearing makeup a kind of by this, like there would have to be, I mean, it doesn't mention it, but
That is an excellent
it's
question.
related in some way, no?
I will answer that, but I will avoid your question, obviously. No, I don't, chas v'shalom, I don't mean to say that at all. No, when you asked your question, it reminded me of something that I read in a different context, and I wonder whether what I read in a different context might be relevant here. I teach a group of women Hilchot Shabbat, and when we learn Hilchot Shabbat together, they're people who are newly observant, and one of the hard things when you learn Hilchot Shabbat is to understand how limited you are in makeup that you're allowed to put on Shabbat. Really, you're not allowed to put makeup on Shabbat. And if Shabbat's like the most important day, I want to look my best, it can be very hard for anybody really to wake up on a Shabbat morning, look in the mirror and think, oh my gosh, that's me. I'm going to go to, like, this is this is the most important day. I'm meeting everybody, and this is how I look. Yeah, anyway, so actually it's in Rav Melamed in Pidinei Halakha, in his introduction to the laws of makeup on Shabbat. He's got a paragraph that I find so moving that I often read it out verbatim because I don't think I could write it. I could say it as well as he. So look it up afterwards. He writes how on Shabbat you have an opportunity to present yourself to the world. This is me. This is like no filters, no no barriers, nothing that's like showing something that's not real. This is purely my true self. There's nothing to hide. There's nothing on this day of authenticity, of closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that I love you so much, Hashem. This is my day that I'm just gonna. This is who I am, and he writes it very, very beautifully. So I wonder if his writing in that context is related a little bit to what you're saying over here. That on Shabbat we have this opportunity to sort of present a more
Natural.
yeah, more natural, more I don't know. I don't want to say authentic. I don't know what the word would be, but like something without any filters, without any like something that's a little bit more real. Does that? It sort of relates to your question. It's not an answer to your question, but it sort of relates to your question.
You can't paint slaves on the slave market. The women that you meet, they can go ham, as long as it's in halal.
No, but
you're buying them.
No, but there's a certain dignity. You like, I want to present myself. Certainly in the society in which we live, there is a. It's an avodah. It's not pashut for people to.
There is boundaries. It's not like there's certain things would be it's just making something look better or covering up something that's completely that like a like it would be like a new car versus an old car like painting it new is just like you're not making it look better, you're just sort of changing something that's already good to begin with. But if something's got if a car's got I hate to compare women to objects. That's a horrible thing.
No.
That's not what I'm doing here. But
no, but I think it's a very different thing. Here I'm doing it as like it's human dignity. It's my, like it's a way of it's not. Yeah, you're quite right. It's a very, very difficult. Painting a car is hiding a dent. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that here we're talking about. I'm sort of like presenting myself. This is I'm not sure that they really are.
It's not in the same.
Yeah, I don't think they're. Yeah, exactly. I think we're going to go from. The Gemara, really, the Shulchan Aruch in the bottom of the page is very much the halachic ramifications of what we read at the top of the page. But he puts it much more stark, like he presents really the stories that we read at the top of the page, about not the sort of like painting animals and soaking meat, translates it into a broader halachic context. So he writes in the Shulchan Aruch, Asur, this is really the key point, Asur leramot b'nei adam b'mekach u'memkar, or lignov da'atam. You're not allowed to mislead people when you sell in commerce. Lignov da'atam is really to mislead people. Kamo im yesh mum b'mekacho, if there's something wrong with what you're selling, tzarich lehoti'o lalakoach, you have to tell them. Af im hu oved kochavim, even if it's a non-Jew, lo yimkor lo basar nevela b'chezkat shchuta. You can't sell something, say it's kosher when it's not kosher. V'af livnot dat habriot b'dvarim shemareh she'oseh b'shvilo ve'eino oseh asur. You can't mislead people by saying you're doing something specially for them. The guy comes into your shop, I was waiting for you to come and I saved this for you.
Just for you, this price.
Yeah,
for you.
Yeah, exactly. That's misleading because the next guy's going to come in and guess what? I saved it just for him too. That would be misleading because it's lignov da'atam. There's a difference between the first point, which was marketing, giving, biscuits or whatever it is to get people to come into my store, and saying, see this thing of strawberries? When it arrived, I thought, that's for him. It costs 400 shekel, but
it's like if it's one of your main customers, like.
Oh, if you did, then of course you can.
Yeah.
No, you did.
You come to my shawarma every day. You get extra pickles.
No, that's fine. That's fine. No, that's very good, but you can't.
You can't say that he gets extra pickles when you would just get extra pickles.
Yeah,
anyway.
Every customer can't be your favorite customer. Do you know what I mean? That's like it's a misleading.
Am I your favorite Talmud?
Huh?
Am I your favorite Talmud?
Oh, that's such an echo. You're brilliant. You're so good. You're excellent. Yeah, you see, it can't because then it's just like meaningless. You know what I mean?
Oh, so.
But we all know. Okay. So I think that over here. Now the key point is asur l'ramot b'nei adam b'mekach u'memkar. You can't mislead people. Nowadays, an application might be. There were two things I was saying. When I was a little boy, I remember my mother she got very concerned, and this probably is a part of this problem over here about misleading people. They had a bottle of grape juice for kiddush, and they used to come in liter bottles. And then they had a new big marketing campaign saying new design, but the new design, which they did not make clear, wasn't a liter; it was 800 milliliters. So the new bottle was smaller than the old bottle, so the price remained the same, but they have new design. You have to make clear that it's not just a new design, but it's also less. You understand that? I think that's probably a misleading thing to do. Internet shopping. You buy, you see this picture and you assume there's huge, I don't know, boxes, I don't know, like a speaker. You're going to buy this huge, and then this matchstick arrives into your home. You know what I mean? That's misleading.
Chocolate bars, 100 grams, and then it's shrunk 90, 80, the standard chocolate bar.
Yes, you have to be clear. I think that's probably a gnevat dat, to mislead people. You follow here? I think.
Well, you're not misleading if you're writing 800 milliliters.
Oh no, you're quite right. That's not misleading.
You would mislead
you have to make
it up to 800 and then sell it for a least price. Exactly.
Yeah, the misleading is, the customer has to know what they're getting. You follow?
Packaging. If you change the packaging, you're not misleading them.
Yeah. No, that's true, but I think it wasn't. I don't remember. I was a little boy.
No, nobody likes inflation, but
no, but it has. You're right, but it has to be clear. It has to be clear that it's going to be. You're going to get less. You follow? You can't just we're redesigning without making clear that as a result, it's going to be a smaller bottle. You follow?
They say with sugar drinks, they say that where they use diet drinks, where they use an art like Splenda, that if it's less than 1 gram of sugar, you can write 0 sugar. And that they changed that law recently. This is in the States. They changed that law recently that you have to write less than 1 gram. You can't write 0.
So
you have to specify.
Oh, that's excellent. Exactly.
It's a very recent thing, but for years they wrote it could be half a gram, and they could still write 0.
Right. Yeah. So I think this one over here is probably more contentious. There is a possibility over here of l'ramot, of cheating other people, misleading them. Okay. So the examples we saw, really the Gemara's example is, and then everything could be extrapolated from that. The Gemara tells us that you're allowed to, when you're selling new products, you can do whatever. You can make it look pretty fancy because everybody knows exactly what you're getting. But when you're selling an old product, that's when you have to be more concerned. And really, all the modern applications, you can take sort of the principle from there about people have to know what they're getting. And then whenever you're selling with an effort to perhaps hide a part of what you're selling, that could be a problem. Okay, point number 3 of 4. Okay, over here is about diplomacy. This is more like interpersonal relationships. So Gemara tells a story. Tanya, this is a Braita. Haya Rabbi Meir Omer. Rabbi Meir used to say, Al yis rahev adam lechavero lisod etzlo v'yodea bo she'eno so'ed. You shouldn't invite people to come and join you for a meal if you know beforehand that they're not available. You follow? You mean sort of, why is that problematic? Because
forcing the person to reject the invitation.
Yeah, but also I've got no intention of inviting this person into my home, but I'm creating a false
empty gesture, kind of.
Yeah, I think it's more that. I think it's also that I might be suggesting a level of friendship that is greater than it really is. Meaning, come and join me. That's so nice. The Cohns invited us for a Shabbat meal, but really the Cohns only invite us knowing that we couldn't come.
Oh.
You follow? So they are interpreting my gesture as greater than I knew it to be. Is that clear? Like their interpretation of my gesture is working to my advantage. I'll say, wow, so nice of him. So that's the problem there. Like you offer them gifts knowing that you won't accept them. And then this is really something that's more to do with like in those days, they would open these big barrels of wine. It wasn't something you did all the time. But lo yiftach lo chaviyot ha-mechurot lechen vani elim kein hodi'o. That you shouldn't open casks of wine which are going to be sold unless you tell the guest that that's what you're doing. V'lo yomar lo soch shemen mapach rekan ve'im bishvilo chvodo mutar. Okay, once. Vaha ula iklo levei Rav Yehuda patach lo chaviyot hamechurot lechen vani. So the Gemara says you shouldn't open these bottles of wine because it's not fair if the owner of the shop wants to sell them later. But then we see that from the story of Ula that indeed they did do that. But it was okay in that particular case because oduye, because in that situation, Rabbi Yehuda had told the owner of the barrels of wine, had told him beforehand that he was going to open them already. The Ibai say, Mashani ula dechaviv le Rabbi Yehuda, de belav hachi nami ptuche miftach le. Apparently they were very good friends, and he would have opened them anyway. Okay, that's the barrel story is less clear. I think it's hard. We don't really do these barrels nowadays, but but I think what he's talking about in all of the cases that we see quoted in this Gemara and Chulin is a gesture that could be interpreted as greater than I intended it to be. Does that make sense? Like offering to do something, knowing that you're not going to take it up, or opening the barrel, which is a very sort of, but I was going to open it anyway. So doing stuff that I would do anyway, but giving the guest the impression that I'm really treating him greater than I was planning on doing it.
So what does it mean later to be sold by the shopkeeper? What does that have to do with opening casks that were to be sold by the shopkeeper?
Right. So I imagine that when you open the cask, to open a cask of wine it means once it's open, it has a shorter lifespan, right? So once I open the cask, I have to finish all the wine. Now, if I know that the shopkeeper is going to be selling the wine anyway, then it's easier for me to open it because I know it's going to empty quicker. So if I know that the shopkeeper is going to be serving the wine, it's easier for me to justify opening it. So I'm not doing it out of great respect for this person, meaning you're so important. I'm willing to sort of do this once in a 3-month activity of opening the cask of wine. Yeah, exactly. Oh, here you are. Let's open up the... but really, I'm going to give half a bottle to the bar down the road and they'll finish it later. Lahavdil. You follow? Yeah. That I'm not really opening the bottle in your honor. I'm opening it because I'm going to use the rest of it anyway. You follow? So it's like a misleading gesture. Okay. That's example number 1. Okay, this is such an embarrassing story. Okay, this is really the same sort of story, same sort of problem, but in a different context. Okay, there are 2 rabbis walking from a place called Sikara Sikra, and they're going to Bei Machuza. They're traveling from one city to another, right? Mar Zutra, the son of Rav Nachman, was traveling from Sikra to Machuza. Do you see that? And whilst he was on that journey, Rava and Rav Safra were going in the opposite direction, right? And then Pag'u Ahadadi, and they met each other. Who Mar Zutra, when he bumped into these rabbis, Rava and Rav Safra, when Mar Zutra bumped into them, he thought to himself, Hu Savar La'apehu Deka'atu. He assumed that they have come out in order to meet them. And then he said to them, Amaluhu, Lama Luhu Rabona Litroach Va'atu Kulehai. It's so sweet of you to come out so far in order to meet me. You follow? There's been a misunderstanding. There's Mar Zutra, who's going on a journey from A to B, and then there's rabbis, Rava and Rav Safrai, happen to be journeying from B to A, and they bump into each other in the middle. And Mar Zutra assumes that Rava and Rav Safra have come to meet him on his way. And they say, that is so kind of you. It's so sweet of you to do that. And the question is, what should they do now? You follow? I mean, like a modern example, what would you do if you were walking down the road and you're holding a cupcake, as you may be, and then you bump into an old friend and they see you carrying the cupcake and they say, oh my gosh, you bought that for my birthday? That's so nice of you. So would you say, no, actually, I was on my way home because I was peckish, or would you say, absolutely, happy birthday, I was been looking for you all day? You follow? I mean, it's really the same sort of dilemma in both cases. In the top half and the bottom.
I bought this for you.
So the question is, what do you do as a, like in time? I'm looking. I suppose it's sort of connected to marketing. It's sort of like when I'm in my interpersonal relationship. How honest do you need to be?
We would say, it's your birthday. That's my gift for you. And then you go on your.
And then everything will be fine.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah. Or do you say, actually, it wasn't for you, and I'm on my way home?
Right, but then you risk like.
I know you could. Right. So look. So in the Gemara.
Oh, they made an assumption.
So in that.
It's for your wife, you know.
Yeah.
So in our case over here, when Mar Zutra bumped into Rava and Rav Safra, and then Mar Zutra saw Rava and Rav Safra, so Mar Zutra said to these two rabbis, wow, that was so sweet of you people to make this effort to meet me. To which they replied, Omelahu, Omelei. So then they responded, Rav Safra responded to Mar Zutra, Anan, we lo have yadinan deka'ati mar. We never knew that you were on your way. I have yadinan. Had we known, tvei havi tarachinan. We would have worked even more to greet you. In other words, he didn't sort of abuse that moment and say, yup, of course we came out to you. He admitted that we weren't out. To which Rava then questioned Rav Safra, my Talmud Amrat le Hachi, why did you say that to him? De ashkechite lidate. Why did you made him upset, right? Because he got so excited to see us. He got so excited to see us, and then you say, actually, I wasn't coming to see you. You follow, which could hurt quite a lot. I'll tell you, we had a similar situation. I mean, you get it, almost every family gets it every year on Purim, when somebody comes and knocks on your door and says, here, this is Mishloach Manot. You say, oh, we were just about, and here's this one we were going to give to you. In fact, our son was once on his way to deliver Mishloach Manot to friend A, and walking up the stairs to our apartment was friend B, delivering Mishloach Manot to him. Now, friend B, he had not intended to give friend B Mishloach Manot. So he's walking down holding the Mishloach Manot, and he bumps into friend B. So what he says is, I was just on my way. Here, this is for you. You follow? It's a tricky sort of situation. Do you say that? Do you follow the situation?
What about switching the labels? I've done that before. Like, you got a really nice mishloach from someone, and you know, like, someone very important is coming later, and you're like, okay, I'll just take the label off, you know.
It's allowed. It's your
And
thing.
I'll put on a new label.
Yeah, of course.
This is for you. You know,
I have to say,
Kohen
it's
Sameach.
quite a common thing to do.
Right.
But in brackets, I'll tell you something very funny. My grandmother, I never met her, but my father's mother, at the beginning of Purim one year, baked a cake and gave it to family A. And by the end of Purim,
It came back.
Her cake, came back. Isn't that amazing? But the cake that came back was brought by a person who does not know, like, it was at least ABC. You follow?
Yeah.
Like, it's so nice this cake got to celebrate Purim in so many different people's homes. Okay, anyway, so we go back to Rav Safra and Rava have a very serious debate now. Rava says to Rav Safra, why did you say that to him? You've upset him. Do you know what I mean? Like, here he was so excited to see us, and he assumed that we were going out to greet him.
He's being honest. What's wrong with that?
Oh, so then that is very good. Excellent. So Rav Safra says to Rava that had I said anything else, Rav Safra says, had I said anything else to Mar Zutra, I would have been misleading him. To which Rava responds, and that's the end of the story. You can take this wherever you want. So Rava says, we didn't say to him, you know, we've come to greet you. He said, wow, it's so nice of you to come to meet me. So Rava says to Rav Safra, we didn't deceive him. It was him who was deceiving himself. You follow?
But if you go along with it, you're participating in the deception.
Right.
As opposed to, I think that the Rav Safra handled it very well. He said, we actually weren't coming to meet you. If we did, we would have, you know.
Yeah, had we? No, poof. Yeah,
that,
quite right.
I think that was like, you know.
Excellent.
He didn't completely brush it off.
Right. So that was, okay, that was point number 3 is sort of like honesty. Like we were saying to Ben a minute ago, everyone can't be your favorite customer. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you have to have a little bit of integrity. You didn't do this specially for this person or for that person. You have to be honest when you speak to other people. You have to not hurt their feelings. And I think you're quite right. The way that Rav Safra tackled it is beautiful. It's not, the context here is not within the context of marketing, but it's sort of in interpersonal relationships. You should never over milk a gesture. Do you know what I mean by over milk? Like, invite somebody when you know they can't come, and over here greet somebody as if we did, but we didn't really. Like, you just need to be with integrity. Okay, that is point number 3. So we've seen 3 points. Do you remember the 3 points? The first one was about the nuts, giving the nuts. Marketing that anyone could do is fine. The second point was about being honest in terms of how you sell a product. You know what I mean? Like, the product has to be, you can't hide things. And the third one was about integrity when I'm speaking to somebody else. The final point is like a summary. 3 points over here. Oh, I must have just 3 interesting points, just general concerns, but not Jewish word. I mean, not. And then we'll look at the Rambam at the end. Okay, there's a television advert that speaks about pro-vitamins. There's no such thing as a pro-vitamin. Like, it's a made-up word to make you think that it's something healthy. I mean, you'll see it on many shampoo containers, but it means nothing. So, but that's probably a misleading thing. You could say everyone can do it, but I think there could be a little bit of misleading in using a word that's meaningless, but makes people think, has yours got pro-vitamins in it, when that doesn't mean anything.
My brother's a pharmacist, and he argues he doesn't like when they put the word antioxidants on things. He tells me like it doesn't really mean anything. I mean, it does have a meaning, the word, but it's like I forgot how he explained it, but basically it's very benign.
It's just like the pointless
it's just like a weasel
word.
word here. Like it sounds like something positive.
When I was in America recently, they were selling bottled water, and the advert, each one talks about how it's just water.
Gluten free.
Yeah, exactly. Gluten free. Okay, so that's a problem. I think that falls into the second one about marketing. You're like misleading people. Second one over here is, that's what I didn't like in this first thing. Not everything has to be the best. Everything. You follow? Like the greatest album ever, Volume 8. Okay. And then this goes back to what we saw earlier about the bottle of grape juice. This is worse, Shushan. That they ran a promotion where they said the bags are 15% larger. All they did was, we never said, you understand, that's really quite a misleading thing. And I think that would probably also be, all three of these I think would be problematic based on the second point that we saw. Okay, I want to conclude with the Rambam over here. The Rambam writes like this: Asur la'adam lahanik atzmo b'divrei chalakot v'ufitui. Pitui is to, lefatot is to lure, to tempt people, like draw them in. That's just not the way we should behave. I think that's a very, very helpful way to know if I'm maintaining my integrity when I am involved in marketing. You have to be echad b'peh v'echad b'lev, meaning the words that come out of my mouth have to reflect the feelings in my heart. You follow? It has to be real. Now, that leaves a lot of opportunities for marketing, but it has to be real. Ela tocho k'kaboro, meaning what you see is what you get. V'inyan shebelev hu hadavar shebepeh. The what I'm feeling is what I'm saying. V'asur liknov da'at habriot. You're not allowed to mislead people. Afilu da'at hanochri, Jew or non-Jew. Kate said, Lo yimkor lanochri basar nevela b'makom basar shchuta. You're not allowed to sell something in a way that I assume I'm buying A when actually you're buying B. like a 15% larger bag of crisps, you assume there's more crisps in it, but actually there's just a larger bag. V'lo min al shel meita b'makom min al shel shchuta. V'lo yisrahev b'chavero she'ochal etzlo v'hu yodeh bo she'eino ochel. Really summarizing everything we said. You want to extend a gesture to somebody else, knowing they're not going to take you up on it. V'lo yarbeh lo b'tikrovot v'hu yodeh she'eino mekabel. V'lo yiftach lo chaviyot she'hu tzarich levotchan u'lemochran k'dei levotchan b'shvil kvodo. Don't open up, like we were saying, we're opening in your honor this great barrel of wine, knowing that I had to open it anyway. It's got nothing to do with you. Because that's not echad b'lev, echad b'peh. Even one word of misleading is forbidden. Ela sfat emet v'ruach nachon v'lev tahor mikol amal v'havot. Ela sfat emet v'ruach nachon. Sfat emet, a language of truth, speaking with integrity. V'ruach nachon, you have to have a clear conscience when you engage with other people. So, sweet, wonderful people, 3 points at the end. We speak about here, you can have great integrity and involved in marketing too. I have to say, sometimes a person of integrity is drawn to a person of integrity. It is, I trust you. And if I trust you, that is a marketing, that's something worth marketing. Especially nowadays in the world of sheker, like a successful business person who I know I can trust that person, that's a reason to go to that person. So sometimes integrity is the way that I could be involved in marketing. Okay, don't mislead others, given the impressions that you're acting purely for their interest, when in reality you're acting with your own interest in mind. Don't cheat, don't need to say that, and honesty, integrity in actions and words. So I want to bless us all. It is true that perhaps we're not going to be involved in marketing ourselves. Maybe we're not going to become big business people, but in all of our interpersonal relationships, it is important, whether we are involved in marketing or not, that we behave with integrity and with honesty, and you can still be very, very successful in any field, even if, dafka, with integrity and with honesty. V'nimtzachen v'seichel tov be'enei Elokim v'adam. We should be, find favor in God's eyes and also in the eyes of people around us. Yishar koach to everybody. We'll pause there. Oh.